Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us right here on Morning at NTV. I do have Juliet Igonu, the Technical Manager, Non-Life Insurance at the Uganda Insurance Association. We're going to be talking about how the insurance industry fared amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. A very good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
All right. How exactly did COVID-19 affect the insurance industry? Explain to the viewer who is watching this show right now.
Thank you, Romeo. Like any other industry, we have really been hit by the effects of COVID-19 to the extent that we survive mainly from the customers who come to buy insurance. And so if the customer has not come back to renew their policy, it means that we don't have money. We don't have premiums received from that customer. And of course, you know, during the lockdown, most people were closed off. So when any other business, when you come back, you want to see how best you're going to minimize your expenses. And you know, insurance is, much as it is important, if you're trying to scale down and you're looking at what expenses you can easily forego, those that you think you can survive without, insurance would be for one of it in your basket.
How is it that but insurance during this COVID-19 pandemic looked like one factor you couldn't actually live without, because in case of business actually faltering, shouldn't it have been insurance actually saving you come out of those pits? That's
certainly true, and it only comes to that point if you really fully understand the role of insurance in your business, because we always advise that if you're dealing with any risk management, insurance is one of the aspects you must include in your risk management plan, because it's like a it has to be part of your business continuity plan.
This is really a great conversation, but I believe the viewer cannot barely make out what you're trying to say, but since there's social distancing, indeed. Okay, so go ahead.
So because it's an aspect that is key in the business risk management plan that would inform business continuity, we always recommend that you do not get rid of insurance, but you can minimize. So if someone had 100 staff, okay, for example, and there's this issue of minimizing your expenses. So we've seen people lay off their staff. Definitely that is going to affect your premiums to the insurance industry, because that means that all the staff that have been laid off will have to be deleted from your schedules of policy, and the premiums will trickle down. So we have had effects of reductions in premiums and people who have actually not renewed their policies, because if someone had a motor comprehensive policy, for example, and they don't have the premium, and we have a cash and carry that is on right now, if they are not able to pull that upfront payment, they will rather go for the third party that is far cheaper than the motor comprehensive. That overall affects the premium contribution to the sector. So assets, if someone is going to assess, because in assets there are portable assets and non-portable assets, a business company will think of only insuring portable items, because then the other ones will employ some security measures to ensure safety of those assets, and that will affect them.
What exactly do you mean by portable assets?
Portables are like laptops, things that you can move from one place to another. You need them.
Those are the only gadgets you're insuring right now?
For example, assets, not right now, they're insurable, because they are exposed to any risk that is like theft, damage. So a laptop that moves, like people who are in media, cameras, you move with your cameras all over. They're very valuable cameras. Anything could happen to them. So you can't afford to get rid of insurance, you know. So compared to a desktop, compared to furniture, compared to a number of them that are stationed at your office. So if you're going to scale down your expenses, you'll choose what to insure and what not to insure. Of course, with bearing in mind that you have to have a fallback in the event that you have a total loss.
All right, because premiums did dwindle during the COVID-19 pandemic, how largely did you fare during the COVID-19 pandemic? How did you stay afloat?
We had to encourage our members to engage with their customers, and the beauty is that the regulator was able to allow flexibility. They waived off the cash and carry and allow the customers to pay on installments based on how they are able to. So that the hit that was on before COVID of cash was relaxed, because we really understood, because we're equally affected. So our members were able to engage with their customers and agree on how the payments are going to be. Some of them even had to do kind of short-term periods. You insure for a period that you think you're sure your premium is going to be able to sustain you, and then as and when the expires, you add up, you keep extending your policy. So that's how we've been able to fare up with our clients.
What are some of the challenges that are befalling these insurance companies during this COVID-19 pandemic? When they speak to you as the regulator, what do they say?
Okay, we are a member company, not a regulator.
All right, go ahead.
So of course the biggest hit is when you don't renew your client, you're going to have a big deficit on your expected premium at the end of the year that the shareholder is expecting from you. So bridging that gap is a big challenge. So we've had to think innovation on how we can amend, how we can improve some of the clauses to make it easy for a customer to still consider insurance. Of course, the biggest challenge we've also had is the pressure from the public, especially from those that have motor, who have said, I've been parked from March up to June. I have been parked. There's been no risk. How can I benefit from insurance? So those are discussions. Initially, we don't even have a provision for that, but you have to get out of the box and plan and think, discuss with the client on how you can support them so that they can stay afloat, because you rather keep them with a small premium than lose them completely, because they could have chosen to.
In 2021, you might think everyone knows about motor third party, but you would be surprised.
I know.
Not everyone knows everything about motor third party insurance, but help, give us a few pointers on motor third party. What is it about?
Now, motor third party, first and foremost, is an act that was incorporated by the government of Uganda in 1986,
right,
where every motorist is required to have a third-party insurance. And how does a third party come in? We have a contract usually between two parties. So the first party is the owner of the vehicle, who approaches the second party, who is the service provider, being insurance here, for a policy, for coverage in the event that while they are on the road, they cause an injury or that leads to bodily injury or death. The third party. So a third party is anyone who is not in your contract. It can be a third party, can be a pedestrian, third party can be a passenger. So that is the insurance that you take on as a motorist to protect you in the event of an accident that would affect that pedestrian or passenger while they're using your car or while they're on the road. So
I'm on the road, an accident happens, I hit someone, you pay me and the victim.
As long as they sustain bodily injuries and death. That's what the law is strictly. And the payment is up to 1 million per person per accident. And with an aggregated amount in the 12 months that you take on third party insurance being 10 million.
I was a sales representative in 2011 selling insurance, but one of the hardest things was convincing people to actually buy motor third party, because they'll be like, well, I was engaged in it for a few years, I'd pay my premiums, but then when it comes to, asking for compensation, that's where the insurance companies lag. I mean, when they ask for the premiums, they're vehemently asking you for the money and you're paying, but then when it comes to paying you back compensation, there's so many requirements that they need first. What are some of them? Actually,
we don't even ask you for premium for third party. You are required by law. You come looking for it. So it has been a nightmare for the public when it comes to compensation processes on motor third party, and this is largely because most of them think it's a tax. So when they knock someone, they prefer to settle.
I've seen that happen.
And yet, ideally, once that happened, the contract that you took, it's supposed to come in place at that point, because you paid the price for it. So, and usually you've seen in the stickers where there's a clause, do not accept any liability. So you're supposed to literally engage your insurance company. So what we've done, that is a misconception, because third party is straightforward. We don't predetermine anything as the insurance providers, because the law is clear. How much you're supposed to pay you is clear, as long as the accident has happened and we can confirm that the case has been reported to police and there's a reference number attached to it. You just have to submit the documentations, because remember, it covers you against bodily injuries and death. So if you have a bodily injury, we have some medical bills that you might have incurred. Of course, with insurance, we reimburse you. We will not give you the cash, because the reimbursement is up to how much you have incurred as medical expenses. And then if it is death, if you bring your postmortem reports, and of course there are laws that we also follow that govern compensations, especially when there is death. Families, one family member can come claiming for the money, another one comes in, so we have to follow the legal procedures. But once you have submitted your paperwork that confirms that you have this and this is how much you're claiming, justifying that I need to be compensated up to this amount, the process is pretty much easy. And how we've done this is, now, as an association, we realize we're not just going to be talking. We have to do some stakeholder engagements. And so who are the key parties in these engagements as far as motor third party compensation is concerned? We came up with we came up to intentionally come out and fight for the rights of these victims. So we partnered with a company called Hovita. It's Hope for Victims in Road Accidents. So what they do is that they make sure that they sensitize the third party on their rights. They have a right to be compensated. They have a right to life first and foremost. So in case that life is really compromised, they have to be compensated. So we partner with them, they engage the victims. So ours is to come in and see how we bridge the gap between this victim and the insurance company. So what we've done is in this project is to get into traffic and Uganda police. So last week we had a training where we trained 50 community liaison officers and traffic officers on how we need their help as far as a victim, how a victim needs their help, other than tossing them around. Help them get the paperwork, because most of this paperwork, insurance does not look for them. It is the victim or the person who is the claimant who has to go and get this documentation so that you can be compensated. So that is what we are doing as an association. It's something that we are trying to clear, because once you have all your paperwork, the claims process is not complicated. It's a misconception. But of course, we've had challenges which have come through that we've encountered as an association, where we've tried to help our clients, the victims, who have come direct to us, get compensated from that. And the process is a little bit, it's complicated. It gets complicated to some extent. Why? Because of the language that is used and the information. Because when you bring your document and say, add me more this, the mindset that this victim will take on is like, you're trying to make it hard for me to get compensated. But sometimes they do not have a choice, but you have to submit that document because they audit these books.
Motor third party, it is compulsory, it is mandatory.
Yes.
So what does it cover? Only the radio and me and the victim?
No, motor third party is strictly protecting a third party.
Only that?
Only third party. So if you get into an accident and you have the law, the one in Uganda have only third party to the extent of bodily injury and death. And we all know it's only human beings who get bodily injuries and death. So even if you had a head-on with another vehicle, as long as there's no individual
So in this
damage.
case, you would only come out to compensate this victim and not me, the driver, or my car?
Not you, the driver, not you, the car, not the car, not even the car of the victim. It has to be, the body has to be affected.
But I understand there's a package for that that would cover me, would cover the victim, and cover my car.
That's
Motor comprehensive.
Yes.
Help us understand about that, because the viewer right now is clamoring for that, because they need full protection.
Okay, thank you. Motor comprehensive it incorporates, motor third party is incorporated in the motor comprehensive, because what you're saying here now is that other than just taking care of the third party, I also need to be protected.
And my
asset, you know, I have this big asset that I really value. So the motor comprehensive will take care of the property, your property being the asset, you as the owner of the vehicle, plus also the third party. But the beauty about comprehensive is that the third party, remember the law is up to 1 million and 10. With comprehensive, you can take as much as you want. You just have a minimum of 20, 50, 50, but you can buy more at an extra cost. So that means that you have the leverage of how much you want to protect yourself. And then your vehicle will also be protected in case of theft, in case of personal own damage, and then in case of the windscreen, all those damage that would happen to the car. And some policies now actually even extend to give some personal accident cover for the driver who is in your car, because anyone can drive your car. So that's where comprehensive comes in. You're protected. Then also with the third party that we have in Uganda, your property of the third party is not taken care of. So if you ram into someone's wall fence, they will not compensate you under third party. But if you have a comprehensive one, you get they will compensate the victim of following the accident while you're using your car.
What criteria do insurance companies follow before they compensate a victim of an accident?
First and foremost, we always advise that you seek medical attention whenever there's an accident. Then you report the matter to police, and then insurance can come in. At least within a reasonable time of like 5 days, you should have notified them. You notify them and then go through the medical process. Because remember I said, it is a reimbursement.
It looks good on the top, but then there are some other exclusions, Juliet. If I'm driving and I'm drunk and I ram into a building, will I be compensated? Or am I going to be blamed for having been driving under the influence?
Yeah, so like insurance is a legal contract, and like any other legal contract, we do not compromise any law. So if the law says that you have to be, if you're driving, the alcohol limit is this amount, you should be within that amount.
So even though I have motor comprehensive,
even if you have
but then I was, you know, having a DUI kind of situation, no compensation coming in.
Insurance is supposed to take care of you for uncertainties. So we all know that when you're not sober enough, the accident is bound to happen. So it's certain. It ceases to be uncertain.
So how about a situation whereby I'm driving, you know, I didn't know I had COVID-19, somehow I've lost, you know, you know, my kind of, you know, thinking, I'm getting dizzy, then I ram into the building. Is that a case where it's beyond my control?
It's beyond your control. The key word there is beyond your control. You didn't know, so that's what insurance does. It protects you for as long as it's not intentional, as long as it is something that any reasonable person could not really have foreseen it.
Thank you for helping us demystify this, because we've had so many people complaining that I underwent an accident or got involved in an accident and there was no compensation coming through from the insurance company. It seems like some of the sales agents do not tell them these exclusions. They will tell them the rosy bit that, you know, you'll be protected and so forth, but they don't tell them if you do this and this, there won't be any protection.
So what is key is making sure that you have a driving license.
Indeed.
That is key, because we have had issues where someone doesn't have a driving license. The law does not allow you to be on the road if you don't have a driving license. All
right. Tell me about this campaign to improve customer journey, hospital support and Uganda Police. You told me something about traffic during our preamble before this conversation.
Yeah, so we started a campaign with Helvita in 2019 in trying to bridge the gap between the third-party victim and because accidents really happen and
on a daily basis.
But we can't compare it. If you pull out our books, we can't match it.
Right.
So as an association, we decided to take that up as a project, and what the project is intending to do is to empower the victim. Empower the victim. When someone knocks you and they're trying to help you, they're not doing any justice. They're not doing you a favor. You have a right to be compensated. You have a right to know the insurance company that insured that vehicle. You have a right to be shown how much you're entitled to. So that project is fully in 3 approaches. The one of empowering the victim. Then we have the hospital approach. In the hospital approach, we partnered with hospitals. One of them being Mulago, where we have an agreement. They give us data. They give us data on accidents that have happened. So we are able to reach out to these victims and ask them if they try to pursue insurance. When we try to engage them for the last year, we realized that most of them actually do not even try. They don't try to reach out to insurance because they don't know. And because
even though they have more third party.
No, this is now the victim.
Because
remember the victim, because we are empowering the victim. When you report the matter to police, the police is supposed to give you information about the vehicle in terms of insurance, so that you reach out to the insurance company. Then the other challenge, we realize that most of these motorists, when they cause an accident, they commit that they are going to pay, they speed off. Then when you tell them, because you're supposed to report to your insurance company, I caused an accident and this is what happened, this is the victim, kindly sort them out. They don't want to do that. So we are trying to come in as an association. Let us be, as long as police has confirmed the accident happened and we're able to get the insurance company, we overlook the intimation required by the motorist to the insurance company.
This is a member-based association. Have any of your members closed shop because they couldn't, accrue the premiums that they were getting before the pandemic? Business was hit, they're not getting the premiums anymore. Have any of your members closed shop because of this heinous pandemic?
As of this end of year, we have not had any member close shop, but we've had mergers.
All right.
We've had companies coming in to buy off.
I'm doing badly, so they merge.
Let's merge. So you're still there, but you're just trying to build your capital base.
All right. The future of insurance in Uganda. Talk to us about the future.
The future is bright, I must say, because there's a lot that we're doing in the industry to make sure that the public perception about insurance changes. So we are reaching out to different stakeholders. At least I can say that for the fact as an association, because we are doing different engagements with different stakeholders, knowing that we can't do it on our own, but we can ride on existing platforms to make sure that we empower.
Are any of your members insuring Ugandans against COVID-19 before I let you go?
In the medical. Right now, the breakfast that the CEO is in, they're discussing medical. Indeed. The medical insurance to make sure that we support ourselves because we are equally affected.
But up to now, there is no insurance for COVID-19.
There is.
They're just discussing it.
There is. It's tagged. It's tagged, but varies from your member, your insurance provider.
I understand.
Yeah.
Juliet Igono, thank you for demystifying some of the misconceptions that have befallen the insurance industry. We couldn't be more appreciative. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, this is Morning at NTV. This is what we do on a weekday basis, acquainting you with that information that will go a long way in transforming your life. How exactly has the COVID-19 heinous pandemic affected our children? Yes, as we move forward, I have Diana Tibesigwe, who is going to be joining me shortly after this breather.